All right, welcome to Roast Along with the Hottop today. We're very excited about making this video. If you've got one of these machines, you're pretty excited too, I'm sure. This is a really nice roaster.
Yeah.
And we want to walk you through a basic roast on this, so your very first roast on this machine can be delicious, excellent, awesome, and we want to walk you through the basics on that.
Sure. I'm Catherine Mansell. I'm the director of Current Crop Roasting Shop in New Orleans.
And I'm Stephen Burnett. I work at Coffee Bean Corral, do marketing and coffee roasting, QC, that kind of thing. And we're really excited about this.
Yes.
Pretty cool. So this is actually a special roaster, not just because it's a Hottop,
Yes.
but it's a special, this unit is special. Why is that?
This is the roaster that I used to learn how to roast coffee in general, not just the Hottop 2K Plus, but this specific roaster. So it was pretty old, about 4 years ago, and it's been through 4 more years. So it's a really good roaster, and it lasts a long time, but it's special to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through what we're calling the 10 Commandments of Roasting. We've tweaked them a little bit for this roaster,
Yeah.
and so we'll go through those now. Go ahead, Catherine.
Sure. Number one, you always want to roast in a well-ventilated area. So no matter which coffee roaster you're using, the darker you roast coffee, the more smoke is going to come out. So if you have a heavy duty vent like the ones that you see behind us at Coffee Bean Corral, or if your vent above your stove is a pretty big vent, that could work.
Quasi-industrial.
Right, yeah. If you can roast anywhere near a window and you have a fan blowing out of it, or if you have some exhaust coming out of your garage, that can work as well.
Sometimes I roast outside on my patio, so that's not a problem if you have a covered area.
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave the roaster out there, but it's perfectly fine if the weather's temperate. Everything on this is number 2. Commandment number 2, everything on this is hot. Now, mostly the stainless steel portions are hot. They have these little guards on top to keep you from directly touching the chamber, but if you touch it, you'll get burned. That includes this right here, the chimney cover. This has been well loved right here.
Yeah.
The whole unit, all the metal parts are going to be very hot.
Yeah.
So watch out for that when you're handling this roaster, when you're loading the beans and that kind of thing.
Yeah, very much so. Number 3 is run the whole cool down phase. Now, the cool down on this one is a little bit different because right when your beans hit the target temperature, they're going to eject into the cooling tray, and then it's going to cool down on its own. It's got an arm that pushes the beans around as it cools down, but you do want to make sure that it goes through the cool down phase completely.
Both for the coffee and for the roaster. That'll cool the internals of the roaster out as well.
Yeah.
Keep them from being too hot. It'll last years and years and years to the life of this roaster. Number 4 is don't use an extension cord. This is an electric powered roaster, and you don't want to use an extension cord or power strip because it'll rob voltage from the roaster itself, and it may not get up to temperature adequate to roast the coffee. So plug directly into the wall, and it's best to plug into a dedicated, you can do a 15 amp circuit, or if you have a 20 amp, even better, but be sure you have a dedicated circuit to use so no one else is running any heavy appliances off of it. It'll be just fine if you do that. Plug directly into the wall. Don't use an extension cord.
That's right. Next is always roast above 55 degrees. So if you're outside and you're in some really cold weather, you'll notice the roaster's really not getting up to the target temperature that you're hoping for. And if it is, it's probably taken a lot longer, which is going to decrease the quality of the beans in general. So extreme heat, extreme cold will both negatively affect the roaster.
Absolutely. Number 6 is be mindful of the little ones. If you have kids or grandkids running around, this kind of goes with the everything's hot. It is, but little ones want to get into everything. This is pretty cool to watch, and just be mindful of them as you set up your roasting station. If they're running around, you want to make sure this is away from where little fingers can reach.
That's true. Next is clean out the chaff. Now, there is a chaff collector here, and the Hottop will tell you to empty that chaff after every single roast. When you go a little bit further into maintenance on the roaster, you'll see you'll take off this face and clean that out as well. But every single roast, clean out this chaff collector here.
Yeah, even big industrial roasters deal with and want to guard against chaff fires. Chaff is very thin, paper-like, very flammable, and this is a very hot device. So keeping that clean, brushing it out, very important. Number 8 is roast in a clear, non-cluttered area. We're breaking that one right here. As you can see, we've got the microphone sound equipment. But ideally, you have your roaster, your computer, if you can connect that. This is for the 2K Plus. Those of you that have the 2K Plus, you can plug into your computer with Artisan software. So roaster, computer, maybe a notebook, but plenty of room around this roaster. You don't want to put it in an area where there's stuff that can catch fire around it, and you want to be able to move around with elbow room, that kind of thing. So you're roasting a clear area.
Up next is make sure to change out the top and rear filters. I do it after about 10 roasts on the roaster. So we have filters available, CBC, CCRS. And you'll notice if you start to roast and she spits the beans right out, she needs new filters. So the roaster will definitely let you know, but you want to always make sure that you maintain the roaster. The reason why this roaster has lasted so long is because we keep up with the maintenance on it. You do good things for your roaster, the roaster will do good things for you.
Very good things, absolutely. And the last one, number 10, is record your roast. Now, if you have the 2K Plus with Artisan software, you can actually do that automatically. It'll record all the details of the roast as you go. You can add notes in the software and all of that. If you're a little less tech savvy like me, I've got Artisan installed. It was it took a lot. I don't know if I could do it again, but I did do it. But if you're a little less tech inclined, you can always just take your notes. And I love a piece of paper and a pen. For this very thing. I can make my notes. I can say, this, first crack occurred at this time, at this temperature, all that kind of stuff. And it can change how you roast your coffee. This will become your recipe. However you record. Next time you roast Don Enrique, which is what we've got today, you'll know, here's how I did it last time. Maybe I want to try something a little different. You can make that tweak. No one wants to roast an amazing coffee and then not know how they did it. So record your roast.
I've done it plenty of times.
Me too.
Yes, learned my lesson there. So the very first thing that you want to do, you have everything set up. Everything is unpackaged, all the styrofoam, all the plastics out of there. You want to do a dry run on your equipment. So you want to get rid of all that leftover residue. We call it manufacturer residue.
That's the official name. That's right.
So you want to make sure you burn all of that out. So you really don't want to throw the beans in it right off because the beans will not taste like they should.
They'll absorb some of that too, which is not good.
Yes. So as long as you hit your on-off button and you'll hit your inner save, it's going to start going into a preheat. That preheat is perfect. It'll burn everything out and get you ready to roast.
About how long do they need to do that preheat?
Preheat's going to go, let's see, I'd go probably about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And the machine's going to already start going, and it's really just going to heat everything up in there. So when you go through, or if you start off with seasoning beans or whatever you do first, this is already out of the way, so you don't have to worry about any negative effects on the bean.
Right. I've unwrapped and used new toaster ovens and things like that. They always smell weird the first time.
Yeah.
That's what this is. You don't want to put toast in there.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're locked and loaded on that. So let's talk about the coffee.
Sure. So we chose Colombia Don Enrique Reserve. It is a fan favorite in New Orleans and in Jackson. It's a very easy coffee to roast. Tasting notes are chocolate and cherry with a long, sweet finish. And who doesn't like that?
That's right.
They swell up really big, so they get a nice, beautiful roast. So it's also fun to give out as birthday presents or Christmas presents or late Christmas presents.
That's right. Late Christmas presents are the best. Unexpected. No one sees them coming.
Right.
And you will have gotten that exact coffee in the roast along pouch with your roaster, with the kit that comes with your roaster from Coffee Bean Corral. So you'll see that in there, and we'll do the whole thing at once, and we'll come back. So go ahead, get everything set. Be sure you go back over those 10 commandments. Make sure you've got a clear area, well ventilated, no little ones running around, all that kind of stuff. And when you get ready, and it's already gone through the dry run roast, come back here, and we'll go through the roast.
That's right.
All right. Okay, so the big debate with this roaster, with most of these drum roasters, is do you preheat? Now, a lot of people will just pour coffee in cold and let it heat up to temp and roast the coffee that way. Catherine is on team preheat and has been since she's been using this roaster. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. So I like to let the roast go ahead and preheat before I do anything, and I want to go over this panel. Let's start here. Right under the eject button, you see an on-off start button. You'll hit that twice. 1, 2, and then the next one over is an inner save button. You'll also hit that one twice. 1, 2. Now your roaster's preheating, and you see that pH up at the top right next to the start triangle. So the roaster is going to go ahead and get to temperature. So while that's happening, I want to go over the rest of the panel here. So the 2K Plus is really an updated version of the 2K. One is 1800, one is 1300. This is a little bit more updated because with the 2K, you have these buttons right here. On the 2K Plus, you have these easy to use knobs. Now that helps you change anything throughout the roast. So all of these are going to be adjustments that you can make. Right now you see the fan is at 0. You see the percentage of heat going into the roaster at 100% because it's preheating. A little bit later you'll see your target temperature, and then you'll be able to control the time as well. So as the roaster's preheating, make sure that you have your 8 ounces of Don Enrique ready, that you have your funnel to load the beans ready. And once everything is preheated, the machine will start to beep at you quite loudly.
Yeah.
And when that happens, press play and we'll load the beans together.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so ours just started beeping. We are ready to go here. So we're going to take off this little chimney piece. Put our funnel in place. We need ear protection for this thing. There we go.
So take the funnel out, and you'll
this is
notice.
Really useful.
There
Yes, it's a scoop to push down any beans that left in the chute.
Right. So now that the panel has come up, the first thing that you want to change is your fan setting. So I push mine all the way to 6, and it could go all the way up to 10. This is something that you can play with. The next thing that I'm going to change is the target temperature for the beans. So normally raw beans, when they get to that first crack, it's going to be anywhere between 350 to 380. So what I want to do, my target temperature is going to be right at 390. So I'm going for a solid, beautiful medium roast on this Colombian coffee because that's my favorite way to roast it. So everything else on the panel that you can see, that continuous circle up top means that I'm in auto mode. The roaster's been in auto mode. Anytime you start to make adjustments, it moves over to manual mode, and you can actually save every profile that you do when you get finished with the roast. So it's going to show the time counting down from 18. This is the internal bean temperature, the one that's kind of red. And then the environmental temperature. So this is the only roaster that I've used where you can see the bean temperature and the environmental temperature. So when I'm taking my notes for coffee, now even though it has the potential to use a software program, I'm a note taker too. So what I do is I write my fan setting and my target temperature of 390. So during the roast, I will mark down the time and any events that happen. So now that we've got everything set, the beans are roasting, and you can look in this front half moon and watch everything that's happening. I always shine a flashlight in there just to watch the roasting colors change, that light pale yellow, darker yellow, then starting to get into tans and browns. So what we're shooting for here is a medium roast. So after it goes through the yellowing, the browning, then we'll go into first crack.
First crack, which is my favorite part of any roast.
Yeah.
First crack is the exact same thing, the same principle that occurs in popcorn.
Yeah.
And it sounds like popcorn too. First crack is the moisture inside the bean expanding until it can fracture the coffee bean. Now, first crack has to occur across the whole bed of coffee. All those coffee beans need to experience first crack. So the first pop you hear, you may think, that's first crack. And truly, sometimes it's the very beginning of first crack. Sometimes it's like first crack's another 30 seconds away.
Right.
You get a real small bean that slipped in there, and it was like, yay, I'm ready. And it was way too soon. And so we count first crack when multiple coffee beans start firing at the same time. They hear pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
That's when we say first crack has begun. So if you're taking notes, you want to record the time and the bean temperature that first crack occurred.
Right.
And this also helps you know roast degree. Even if you can't see the coffee, you can kind of get an idea of the roast degree by knowing where you are in relation to first crack and second crack.
Right. A great thing about this roaster, you'll notice that the bean temperature is still red. When the beans are about to hit first crack, that's going to change a different color. It's actually going to turn brown when the beans are getting ready to or just starting first crack. So this roaster is really giving you as much information as you can handle.
Smarter than me, honestly. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know when it's about to happen.
Right. I use this because it is, like I said earlier, very helpful in quality control and when I'm doing quality evaluations, because really the only variable that changes in those evaluations is the coffee itself. It all needs to be roasted the exact same way. It all has to be weighed out. Temperature, everything has to be exactly the same thing when you're evaluating coffee. Really the only thing that changes is the coffee. So this is the roaster that I do for every evaluation.
Yeah, and even though this has got a maximum 10-ounce charge weight, the fact that it is so repeatable that you can program out and say, hey, here's exactly how I want this coffee to run, means that if you roast 3 roasts, you can roast 30 ounces exactly the same way.
Right.
So even though the capacity is not a pound or 2 pounds, it can still get you a very even roast across multiple roasts to fulfill that whatever size you need, whatever amount of coffee you need.
Exactly, and you can also roast back to back on this roaster. So once you start the preheat and it's gone through the entire roast, it's going to go through the cool down. If you already have a batch ready to go, you'll do the 1-2, 1-2 again, and the roaster will cool itself down to the exact temperature that we start at preheat, which is just around 175. So it can roast continuously. So you nail a roast, and if you got 2 more, you can do them back to back with this roaster.
That's right. The one problem with getting into coffee roasting is your friends get very demanding very quickly.
Right.
And they'll say, oh, would you roast me some? Would you roast me some? And so now you can do that really evenly. And this is a great blend. This machine is a great blend of the manual control or automation. You get to go whichever way you want. You can do a blend of both, which is kind of what I would do. And then also you can learn the technical side of this stuff as well. Our fresh roast roasters are great. You can see, you learn sight, sound, smell. This one, you're seeing the temperature of the beans delivered by that probe. You're not guessing at anything.
Right.
And that's one of the things about this roaster that is so great.
Yes. And if you're looking at the panel, you'll notice that the percentage of heat lowered down from 100 to 80%. So in this kind of roaster, when everything starts going and you're hitting everything as the hottest temperature possible, it's going to roast really quickly. So it's lowered itself down to 80% because that's what I did on the previous roast. I don't like 100% heat as fast as I can. I like to slowly back it up to ease it into first crack.
That's right. And that's the great thing. I mean, this is on auto, so it's running her last program. And you get to pick, man, that was a great roast. I want to save that. If you have Artisan software, you can literally save it. And the software itself can run this roaster. Everything from changing temperature, changing fan, to even ejecting the coffee. That happens automatically. When the coffee's ejected, it'll spit it out into this cooling tray here. It'll activate the fan automatically that pulls air through the cooling tray, and the arm will start to agitate the beans so that they get evenly cooled and quickly. A lot of the roasters that are on the market have built-in coolers, but they use the same chamber to cool in. So the chamber's still hot even though you're trying to cool those beans. So you have to cool the chamber and then cool the coffee. It takes a little bit extra time. This one ejects the coffee out of that hot chamber and immediately begins cooling them quickly.
And as you can see, the eject button is lit up red. At any point throughout the roast, you can eject the beans. So if something's roasted too quickly, or you go, oh wait, I didn't want a medium roast, I do want this light medium, you can eject those beans at any time, and they will go right into the cooling tray and cool down with no issues.
That's right. That's right. That's this roaster. They've really thought of everything with this one, and and not only does it have a lot of bells and whistles, it holds up and lasts so long over time, as this one proves. We've got a little bit of a little crack in the side over here, I was noticing. I mean, this one has been well used and well loved, and it's still an everyday driver down here at Coffee Bean Corral.
Very much.
You got a little bit of smoke coming out. We warned y'all about that.
A little
bit
of
you're
smoke.
in a well-ventilated area.
Oh yeah, and the heat percentage went back up to 100%. So we've slowed it down a little bit, and now we're pushing it back to our target temperature at 390.
If you approach first crack and you're going with a too mild of a heat setting, sometimes that the moisture in the bean can get out without being violent and causing that first crack to take place. So you really want to hit that first crack. You certainly do. And so it looks like, oh man, we're 289 on the bean temp right now. Got about 100 degrees to go
Yeah.
for our target final temp here.
Yeah, and we're right at 9 minutes into the roast.
Yeah.
So this one is a little bit longer if you're used to a fresh roast, which is 10 to 12 minutes. This roaster is obviously going to be a bit longer, but you have to keep in mind of the quality of the roast that you're getting, and as much information as you are getting from this roaster kind of trumps out certain things, specifically depending on what you like.
Totally. I mean, you're getting the repeatability, you're getting the control.
Right.
And the control is fresh roast has that in spades. You're getting that control, you're getting that information.
Right.
You're getting the repeatability from the whole thing. And so all that comes together in this one machine. So after a couple of these roasts, you'll be able to know exactly what you want to do, set it up however you want. It can be as complicated as you want.
Yeah.
Or it can be as simple as you want. You can see we're running this completely manually, but you can definitely get really techie with it. There's a lot of information online, by the way. Oop, what do we got here? Auto?
Yeah, running it auto.
Oh, okay.
Not manually.
Oh, okay,
Right,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
one's auto. The previous
one's-
one was manual.
Yeah, okay, okay. Well, we can run it manually.
We can
run
run
it
it
auto. We can run it
Yes.
manually. Okay, there you
100%.
go. That's awesome.
Creeping on up, right at
Okay.
311. Still
There you
going
go.
well. And I'm going to peek around to the front.
Yep.
They've already gone through the yellowing phase.
Let's see if we can get a shot of that real quick.
Yeah.
I'll get my camera over there so we can show you the front. There we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing with this machine, you can talk about this. One thing with this machine, you certainly want to keep this window clean. You can take that nut off
Yes.
and clean that glass off pretty easily.
Yes.
But that's something that's going to want to be done on a semi-regular basis so you can keep a clear view of the coffee as it roasts.
Exactly, and it builds up pretty quickly. So the more you roast on this roaster, obviously the more you have to change out the filters, but you'll also need to pay attention to the glass up front because it's going to build up a lot of that residue from roasting as well. So maintenance, like I said, always keep up with the maintenance on the roaster so you can see everything that's happening. Over the past few years, really the primary things that I listen for when I'm roasting are the cracks. Now I'm smelling everything that's happening too, and visually I do like to see it, but my primary focus are those cracks. That's what I'm listening to. When I know that first crack is completely finished, and there's a little bit of development after that first crack, that's my sweet spot. Just a little bit past that first crack before you even get to that second crack. And you'll hear second crack quite differently.
Yeah, second crack, people describe first crack like popcorn and second crack like pouring milk over Rice Krispie cereal.
That's right.
Kind of more of a snap. It's a lot more, there's a lot more of it happening at once.
Right.
It rolls a lot better. But that second crack, it's once you learn the difference, it's pretty unmistakable.
Right.
You're not going to go, is that first or second? Well, one way to know is which one happened first.
Yeah.
That's first crack. But yeah, it's also a helpful way of looking at roast degree. So before you get into first crack, you really don't have coffee. I mean, you've got coffee beans, but if you ground that up and drink it, it would not be good. I think I heard something there.
Oh, it's just a little bump around on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a phantom crack there. That's not a real one.
No.
But yeah, so but if you're before first crack, you really don't have coffee. You have coffee beans. It wouldn't be good to drink. It's not developed enough. Right. During first crack, when that starts off, now you have coffee.
Right.
And it starts at that cinnamon roast. At that point, where
See?
yeah,
Boom.
oh, there
right
you go.
At 356.
Yep.
That red turned
to like
to
a nice
this,
yellow. Oh, you can hear that? There you go.
Right on the money, right on the right time, right when it started popping.
Beautiful.
That bean temperature change, so you can visually see it, and the heat percentage is lowered as well. So when you're hitting first crack, you don't need to have 100% heat, or it's going to shoot right past first crack and go right into second crack. So I've got it to where right on the verge, right when you're starting that first crack, I decrease the power setting down to 80 so I don't overshoot the first crack.
That's it. So if we hit cool eject right now and dump these beans into the cooling tray, we would have a cinnamon roast or a very light roast
Very
coffee.
light roast,
Not to most people's taste. Some people like it.
There are some people who like a cinnamon roast, and I always think the reason they probably like it is because they think it has more caffeine. Because cinnamon roasts tend to be very grassy and hay-like. I want to curb that myth a little bit, roast levels don't have anything to do with caffeine content. Caffeine content is per bean, and if you're roasting an Arabica bean, it's going to be anywhere between 1 to 1.3% caffeine per bean. The roast level does not change that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And so it means that when you're picking your roaster, it really is based on what you want out of the coffee, what flavors you want. If you roast into that light, you're going to get more origin flavors.
Right.
You know, if the cupping notes on the coffee say, you know, berry or fruity or acidic, you're going to get more of those flavors on the lighter side of the roast.
Right.
In the medium, you've got kind of a blend between those origin flavors and what we call roasting flavors.
Right.
Because eventually, if you roast long enough, everything becomes charcoal, which tastes exactly the same.
Right.
So the longer you roast, the more uniformity you're going to have. Oh, there we go.
So right at 390, right at the target temperature, right when the beans hit that temperature, they're ejected on their own. So I didn't have to do anything.
Beautiful.
Right when the roaster registered that temperature, it spit the beans out. Wow. And now it's going to cool down. You've got about right at 5 minutes of a full cool down phase, and it's going to continue to do that. Once the cool down phase is over, it's going to beep 12 times.
12. You won't miss it.
You won't miss it, to let you know that it's over. If you're right next to it and you're sick of hearing that beeping, you can hit the on-off button and it'll stop. But I always recommend that you wait until the very last moment to stop the cool down.
It's kind of like those warm cookies on the counter. Yeah. You don't want to stop it. If they're still hot, then they're going to keep roasting internally. You really want to cool them down as quickly as possible, which is why you have this really nice machine.
If you want to stop the beep, you hit the button.
You
not
stop
cool
the
down.
beep. That's right.
Yeah.
There we go. Those look beautiful.
They are.
Very nice, even color.
Yes.
One reason is I love the Hottop. I love the Don Enrique Reserve. It's such a beautiful looking bean. The first time I roasted this coffee, I told my wife, this is the first time I've really roasted coffee. I'd roasted a lot of coffee at that point, but this one made me feel awesome. Like I was a great coffee roaster because it's just so pretty. And if this is your first time roasting, you got it.
Yeah.
There it is.
You nailed it.
You nailed it. That is awesome. So we recommend after this cools down, you'll want to store that. You've got some valve storage bags. You can put the coffee in those valve storage bags, one of those bags, and store that for a couple of days. Let it degas is what it's called. And after a couple of days, you can grind it and drink it like coffee, because it is, and it'll be delicious. It'll be great. You can taste it. And then whenever you take your notes, another benefit to taking paper notes is I can just write at the bottom, hey, I love this. It was great. I really got a lot of the fruit. I really got a lot of the acidity. Whatever it is you like, you can make those notes. And man, that was not good. I should do something different next time.
Right.
It tells me what to go YouTube and YouTube and Google about.
Do a little bit more research.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Man, they're looking beautiful.
I know it.
So yeah, be sure to let this run the full cool down sequence. Still got a little bit of smoke.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Well, while this is cooling down, so we got a couple of exciting things to talk about. One of them, well, just first of all, thank you for doing this roast along video with us.
Thank you.
A lot of fun for us to do. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you get some really good coffee out of it. And you have a great first experience with this roaster or with roasting in general. You may have some questions after this. After you do a couple more roasts, maybe in the next few days, you may go, man, what's this? I want to ask somebody.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a New Year's live stream event that is free to you because you bought a roaster or you had a roaster purchased for you in the month of December. So you can definitely, we'll send you an email. You can log into that event. You can watch us talk about coffee.
Yeah.
We're going to answer some questions about roasting, about coffee. Catherine is a certified Q grader. She's all about the tasting and all those kind of things. And we can talk about all that stuff. If we know the answer, we'll give it to you. And if we don't, we'll say, I don't know. What's our promise to you? But anyway, this is going to finish out. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy roasting.
Happy roasting. Thank you.
Thank you.